is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
While the GTP Championship has seen the likes of Iamaki win 4 out of 5 rounds, the GTO drivers have had 3 different winners: Joni Hagner, Milan Arnozzi, and Phil Lake. But with Hagner not taking part in the points race, you would expect Lake and Arnozzi to lead the championship. Not so. Riley Thompson, still winless in 2019, holds the top spot by a scant few points. And while his speed hasn't garnered him the top step of the podium yet this year, he's proven to be a fierce competitor to watch out for. Is it a matter of time, or will his winless streak continue? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, this might be happy honey ground for Thompson. We're back at the Glen.
Back at the Glen, Joe, here in beautiful upstate New York. Listen, there might not be a more classic road racing facility in America than Watkins Glen. Everybody raced here at one time or another. Formula One. Yes, these very same Kamel GT cars here back in the 70s and the 80s. Folks, this track is a blast, quite simply put. The best way to appreciate it, though, is on board for the GSRC lap around Watkins Glen.
All right, we've got Philip Lake and the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Watkins Glen. Coming down to the 90, this tends to be a great place to pass. The pitfall is it's easy to outbrake yourself and lose gobs of time on the climb up the hill. That good corner exit will be especially important in this car, where you can easily stay flat to the floor up through the S's. Minimize your steering input through here to help get every last ounce of speed as you hit the backstretch. You can see how we're absolutely flying up at the top of the hill. This is another place where passes are likely. But the entry to the inner loop is tricky and not made for too wide racing. You've also got to be careful with your right foot as you try for that last little squirt into the carousel. Like that. The banking through this incredibly long sweeper is going to keep speed surprisingly high, and an error can send you into the Armco in a flash. Switch sides quickly and then get ready for the chute. Things will go wrong fast if you lose it here because there's very little runoff to the outside. From there, we come to the bottom of the hill in the toe of the boot. This corner rewards the savvy and punishes the greedy. It's a steep climb on exit, so anyone who isn't able to square off the corner for a good launch will be hurting on the way back up. That will give the drivers yet another good opportunity to overtake when they hit the heel of the boot. The exit here can get a little narrow though, so leaving each other space will be important. Switch sides once again so that we can return to the main circuit. This crested off-camber left-hander is tricky no matter what car you tackle it in. Be wary on the power since the turbo lag can send you spinning into the barrier in a flash. Then comes Indianapolis. This is very much a single groove corner, and any side-by-side action through here is breathtaking. We finally hit the last corner, which is more like something out of a street course since the tire barrier is right at the edge of the track. Hopefully, you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Watkins Glen.
You see a lap around Watkins Glen up and down through the hills, but let's take a lap through the points as well. I mentioned them a bit in the intro, and the GTPs, of course, up at the top, Ardo Iamaki is leading. It's not by a whole lot. In fact, he only recently retook the top spot over Fabian Gerber, and is now 16 points difference since Fabian wasn't here last week. There's nobody with drop weeks, though, up at the top four. You can see only Ardo has drop weeks out of these guys. So everybody's had some problems, and Ardo certainly seems to be the only one that's consistent. Looking at the GTP lights, of course, up at the top of those, we've got Martin Krejcik leading Carlos Fonseca, who jumps up one position. Bronislav Robanek having a little bit of trouble and falling down to third. Johnny Bell and Radek Sikora also swapping positions. Pretty close there in that battle for second place. What about the Audi Championship, Sean?
Yeah, let's look at those GTO points here, Joe. Boy, a lot going on here in the season as we hit the halfway mark. Riley Thompson in the lead. It's been a solid season for him so far. Milan Arnozzi there in second, moving up the board here, just a few points ahead of Phil in and around the lake for Dirty Torque Racing. And then we got a little bit of a log jam there at fourth, Joe. Nick Bucanos and the Dirty Torque Saline team, and Dennis the Anvil Neidhart for X-Batch Racing. Now, let's look at the GTU standings and follow them up. It's Adam Lindgren, the American, coming up 2. After last week, he's now in first for total downforce. Hideki Koivitso hanging on to second, just 3 points behind. Matthew Jette falls a couple there out of the top spot in the third. Michael Haynes hanging on to fourth. And Sergey Serbin coming up here into the top 5, 19 points back of Adam Lindgren. Joe, lots going on, like I said, and a lot of positions still to be had here with 7 rounds to go. Or I'm sorry, 6 rounds to go.
Well, after this one, 6-1. Yeah, you were right either way. So let's fill you in on what this race itself actually will entail as well. As you said, we are halfway through the season at round 6. Race is going to be 40 minutes long. So this is the sprint version of the races they run in this series. That means there are no expected pit stops. The setups on the car are open, though, so they will be able to tweak them to their liking. You can see they score 25 points for win, all the way down to 20th position, but neither of the classes has 20 cars here today. 29, I believe, showed up. So going to be relatively full field. Now, if you enjoy this sort of racing, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network here, where we are today broadcasting from on the GSRC. They have all the World Championship Series for your liking, and you won't miss a moment here on IESN. Up in the top spot in the GTPs in qualifying right now with only a minute and some left. Ardo Iamaki leads the way there. Milan Arnozzi down in the GTO continues his surge in form. Up in the top spot there in the Audis as we ride on board with John Keefe down in 9th, coming off of a podium last week.
You know, you mentioned Milan. Joe, here's a guy that's done nothing but really get better since we first saw him show up a couple seasons ago, a few seasons ago now. Milan's been around, and his they say in American radio Billboard, he's climbing the charts with a bullet, buddy. Milan, strong contender for a championship here sometime in the near future. I loved seeing his speed here today, and boy, who knows? Maybe he's going to give Riley Thompson a run for his money.
Well, it'd certainly be fun to watch. We have enough competitors in the GTOs that are very, very close to winning a lot of times. As we watch Don Peake currently sitting 13th in the qualifying in his class. He's got just about 30 seconds left, I think, to get his second lap in. Actually, he's got both laps in, it looks like, so he is set at that 13th, no higher. We were watching Reed Miller, who was trying to work on his second lap, but it looks like he's given up on that based on his... Yeah, not sure why. He's got about 20 seconds left. Maybe just feeling the car out here in the conditions today, which are a little bit hot, 99 degrees on the track, so drivers will have a little bit of a slippery surface to deal with. Otherwise, don't believe we have anybody else that's going to be able to change their position with just a couple seconds left. So it's time to go through the starting order today. Ardo Iamaki will be starting from the pole with Antti Lepisto trying to chase him to try and stop this streak that he is on. Fabian Gerber will be third with Justin Albrecht rounding out row 2 in 4th. Vili Rolla will be P5. He jumps back over to the GTPs once again. Tobias Gerber will be starting in 6th. Fabian Jungbluth will be P7 with Clayton McLeod coming over from the Williams cars just moments ago here on GSRC. He'll be starting 8th now in the GTPs and the Nissans. John Keefe starts in 9th. Johnny Bell will start in the top 10. And then Joe Malson will be 11th. We have a couple cars that didn't get laps in. Rick Carrera, you can see down there, he will start within his class. Bob Loran and Carl Harden, the only two that did not get lap times in the GTPs.
And Joe, Clayton McLeod went P3. rounded out the podium in that BNI race there. Batteries not included every Saturday on the Global SimRacing channel. Milan Arnozzi is going to start on the pole. Riley Thompson right next to him. Dennis, the Anvil Neidhart, back with us this week. He'll start P3. Phil, in and around the lake, will start P4. Matthew Jette, a 5th place qualifying effort for him. Adam Lindgren, our GTU points leader, starting 6th today, right there with Reed Miller. The Canadian is here, ready to go. Mario Vlasic starting 8th. 9th, going to be Art McEwen. Our old friend Hideki Koivitso rounding out the top 10 here in the GTOs. 11th, going to go to Hayden Pastorius. Not a good qualifying effort for him. We'll see what he's got. Lori Mantavara starting 12th. Don Peak starting 13th today in the number 22. The Double Deuce is here. Darren Link starting 14th. Cedric Poyle rounding out the 15 cars here in the GTOs. And Joe, we have people listening in the car. Hopefully not watching, listening in the car. I've got information. We've got people listening in the car. Please do not look at the video screen, okay? And shout out to Lisa and the group riding along watching us right now.
Always love to have fans letting us know who is listening in, of course, because sometimes we do get drivers who react to the things that we say, apparently. I mean, they have long straights here. They're coming up the S's where the Nissans are flat out all the way to the inner loop. Sean, maybe he's got time to look at the screen. Yeah. Silence. Yeah. You don't like that,
I don't. I'm sorry. I'm just not that talented.
No, I'm not either. I can never understand some of these drivers who are able to type full sentences while they're racing. I don't even bother trying to type anything while I'm in. I have to use the mic if I want to communicate with anybody. You can see them working their way up the hill. Looks like we have a relatively good field considering we've got another sports car race going on right now. A pretty big one. Just a little thing called the 24 Hours of Daytona here with iRacing happening. But I guess enough teams have given that these drivers love these old Kamel GT cars and given them a chance to try and race their traditional race here today as they now head onto the boot portion of the track. Down in towards the chute. Now, Sean, usually with these cars, we talk about the difficulties with traffic because a lot of tracks just don't play well between the GTP and the GTO classes. But what about Watkins Glen? Is it a different story? Are the straights long enough? Is there enough space?
Well, I mean, there's space, but you have to calculate that space. You're certainly not going to try and make a move up to the S's. You know, there's room to actually do something in a 90 coming down the front straight there. But, Joe, this track tightens up in a lot of spots, too. So, we've got one car off in the back. There's Reed Miller with trouble here on the pace lap.
I'm not sure how he did that. I mean, the chute's a tricky corner. It could, yeah, you know, that would be my best guess, that something happened there, that he just had to take his attention away for a moment, or his attention was taken away without his choice, and he just found the wall. Well, hopefully the car isn't too damaged.
Maybe he was adjusting his toque, eh? I'm sorry. It's all the Canadians watching. I'm sorry.
All right, well, we only have one more corner of pacing to go, and then we go racing for round 6 here in the iRacing Kamel GT Series. It's going to be Arto Iamaki, 4-time winner this season, leading them away. Pace car peels off. He gets a very good jump over second-place driver Antti Lepisto, his fellow Finn. Already Fabian Gerber looking to the inside as they plunge down towards the 90, seeing if he could take that second place away. And I think he's got the momentum off the corner to do it as they almost touch. Otherwise, we only have one spin. Carl Hayden in the back. Let's go to the Audis.
Joe, it's nuts. Back here in the Audis, Arnozzi already side by side there with Dennis Neidhart coming out of the 90. They've spread out up in front of him.
How did nobody hit Carl Hayden? He backed the car almost into the field, and somehow they all squeaked by. Very tense moments. But other than Carl, I think we've got really no problems on the opening lap.
No, pretty clean here so far in the Audis. They've got underway and have started to go line to stern as they get through the bus stop.
So as Hayden gets it going, once again, we've switched back up to the Nissans. It is Iamaki leading Gerber, who slipped up into second place. Lepisto still in third. Justin Albrecht stays in the fourth position. They've still got a train of machines here following the leader. Nobody's really dropped back by a huge amount until you get to Rick Corriero. Ooh, we got a battle for the lead in the GTOs, though. Riley Thompson has Phil Lake looking to the inside, down into the heel of the boot. Oh, and Corriera's had a problem. They're going to have to split him. Going off the track, Riley Thompson gets it back going, loses the position, but saves the car.
What a tremendous save by Riley Thompson. We're going to go on board here.
I mean, lightning reactions like a cat. Look at this. Sees the car, just avoids
just saved
him.
His race.
Yeah, it really did.
He's knocking down that Armco barrier if he doesn't save it right there. Wow, what a great job by Riley. That's why he's leading the points, Joe.
And he hasn't lost touch with Phil Lake. One of his main rivals, Milan Arnozzi, goes a little bit wide through the 90. And Dennis Neidhart is going to take advantage. Another of the GTO cars has to go through the grass. That purple machine gets it going, but falls back to fourth.
He sent it, Joe. Just sent it a little too much.
And all this messing around has meant that they have spread apart up at the top. Look at that. We've got a gap of a half second back from Lake to Thompson, and then from Thompson to Neidhart. So a lot of action that we're seeing. Arnozzi having a little bit of trouble getting it cleanly through the inner loop, and that's allowing Thompson to get back on him.
Oh, watch out. Oh, Matthew Jette almost getting a piece of it there.
Matthew's another one that has really improved in recent times. Look at this. Yeah. He's running in fifth right now. In the past, he was usually a back marker, but I'd say a podium could be possible for the Canadian. Yes, Canadian. Almost called him a Frenchman. French-Canadian.
No. A lot of Canadians in the field today, actually.
Good to, I guess it's more Americans worrying about the 24 hours of Daytona. So this is the Canadians' time to shine. Let's jump back up to the leaders in the GTP. Currently, Ardo Iamaki pulling away from Gerber and Lepisto. Oh, Lepisto takes a great run through the inner loop, and that gains him a lot of time on Fabian Gerber. In fact, pulls him away from Justin Albrecht as well, who was challenging him from behind. So the Finn with a number 1 on his hood, looking to get himself back into P2. Up and around the toe of the boot, trying to get the launch off the corner. Looks like Gerber a little bit better on that uphill run. We are only 5 minutes into this race, and we've already seen a lot of action out here. Then back behind them, don't forget Billy Rollo starting to gain on this group. He could prove to be a factor in this battle. They come around to complete yet another lap, and it has been Ardo Iamaki just continuing the trend. Again, 4 wins out of the 5 races so far, looking like he is going to make it 5 out of 6.
Joe, Lori Matavara continuing to move up through this field, just taking P9 away from Art McEwen. And Lori continuing to just charge forward. And now got Hayden Pastorius locked in sights.
In fact, McEwen had to save the car heading through the toe of the boot, nearly lost it there, climbing up on top of the curb. You can see him still going, but like you said, down in 10th now, and has to worry about Hideki Koivisto. Tends to do pretty decently in this car, trying to run him down. Tell you what, back up at the front and the GTOs, Neidhart has Arnozzi still climbing all over the back of him, wanting to get back on that podium. Through the S's once more. Cars start to gain speed up the hill. Could potentially have a chance. Oh, a bit of a slide from Neidhart, I think, means Arnozzi is going to have a very good opportunity. Gains and he lifts. So not going to make it go into the inner loop quite yet.
Early days, Joe. Early days. I had no reason to push it right there.
Waiting for a solid opportunity. He still has sight of the cars ahead, so I guess it makes sense here. Thompson and Lake are not running away quite yet.
No, sir. No, sir. And a lot of credit to Dennis. He's kept that car in shape. Been very consistent here over these last couple of laps.
Carl Hayden's had some problems. He was still trying to get back through the GTO field, and he's found his way onto the short version of Watkins Glen. Yes. There we go. Now we can get the cameras on him.
Yeah, Carl not off to a good start here today at Watkins Glen. Got that car in the pits now. We'll see if he makes it back out.
Looks like Vlasic gave him a little bit of help, and that's what sent him so far onto the other circuit. I think, here we go. This camera should give us a view. Dougie usually doesn't set him up for over there for this layout, so round it goes. Just a little bit of a touch, but I think he's had a bad enough day that he's decided to take it down towards the pits. Only Hardin, Carrera, and Miller have retired so far.
Neidhart just gets around Riley Thompson. The Anvil continuing to make his charge, yeah.
He's having a very good day. We're going to take a look at the replay on this one. Was this down into the 90? We're going to stay with us for now. Don't have time to get to the replay because Thompson is using the draft. He's got the slipstream. He's pulling up behind him. He looks to the inside, down towards the inner loop, tries to outbrake him, but he's not quite close enough.
Here's the replay. Riley Thompson made a huge mistake, Joe, going down to the 90. The car gets all out of shape. He saves it again. Riley Thompson with another one today, making a habit of it.
Using that four-wheel drive to good measure there. We're going to watch from on board. Let's see how much he gets him crossed up here.
I said it was in the 90. I'm sorry, I was out of turn 10 there.
Wow. Yeah, that was a beautiful drift, honestly. Credit to everybody for not causing more issues with that. Riley's still on it, though. He's looking down into the heel of the boot. Dennis is going to give him room at the apex, knowing that the track switches back into turn 9. And it's just not quite going to be enough for Riley Thompson. All this has done is caused Arnozzi to get up to the back of them.
Boy, Dennis brought the hammer of the gods with him today, man. He is really just nailing it here at Watkins Glen. Riley Thompson, I wish you a lot of luck trying to get around Dennis at this point. I don't think he's having any of it.
Absolutely. And 10 minutes into this race, he's only 2 seconds behind Phil Lake. And that's with all the battling that these three have had. So this is definitely a close fight for the potential lead here, depending on if they continue to lose Phil Lake or if they can start to close that gap. They're going to have to work together, though, to do it. Oh, we've got a big problem in the GTPs. John Keefe involved in it. Looks like Tobias Gerber turned around in that one. A whole slew of cars trying to lap the likes of Don Peak. Keefe got slowed up, tries to go 3 wide around, and it just all goes south in the final corner. Poor Don got an eyeful of action there. He was staying off to the right. He was doing the right thing. Poor Keefe had to thread the needle, and just unfortunately, it's an old track and narrow. Yeah. Not quite enough space. So that mixes things up down in the GTPs now. Keefe is in 8th. Clayton jumps up to 7th. Fabian Jungbluth is ahead of them in 8th.
Joe, Ardo Iamaki coming up on this battle. Milan Arnozzi looking to the inside there, Riley Thompson. Ooh,
he's going to box him in, too. Thompson has nowhere to go into the penultimate corner. They almost make contact just as Iamaki comes through. But Thompson somehow finds the speed, and he's going to make a pass on Neidhart and all of that. And they're weaving through, trying to find a way through, and Arnozzi hits the wall.
Pancaked it.
Don't have time for a replay because Gerber almost took a look, and then that's Albrecht outbreaking himself into the corner. Wild action everywhere you look as it's two hurricanes meeting one another. Iamaki retains the lead. Gerber is still in second. Lepisto is back in third. Phil Lake is still leading. Thompson takes second. Arnozzi trying to hold or trying to get past Neidhart, as they've got the likes of Billy Ruola in the midst of them.
Jeez. Did you see Arnozzi down at the bus stop there? My, oh my. Billy Ruola just barely got by there, Joe.
I think it's finally sorted itself out. Woo, goodness. Who needs the 24? This is all the action
no kidding
here in Kamel.
You know, surprisingly enough, the damage on the right side of Arnozzi's car is not that bad. I think he got away with one there. He still looks to have speed.
Let's take a look at that replay. Because, boy, there's a lot to assess here.
You're going to see, he hits it hard, Joe. I think he got help. It looks like he got help, the way the car moved.
Watch from above. If it was, I want to say it was netcode. Because it didn't seem like he was close enough to make contact.
Maybe netcode. It was right behind him. That replay was right under the bridge, so it was really kind of hard to see. But man, oh man.
And credit to Albrecht, who's still in fourth place, put two tires off into the grass to get it slowed down into the 90 and still came away with the car. Now, our eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that Jungbluth is falling down the order on the scoring. That is because in a separate incident, he made contact with one of the GTO cars. Unfortunately, has had to take it to the pits. And I think it might have been Hayden Pastorius, who is now himself in the pits. All right, nearly halfway through the race, Sean. Our leader up in the GTPs is still Iamaki. Yeah, just about. Phil Lake still leads in the GTOs. Thompson has finally found his way back to second. That battle is starting to chain reaction its way back down to 6. Adam Lindgren and Mario Vlasic currently fighting for that spot.
Yeah, Lindgren trying to hold him off here. Ooh, Vlasic gets right up on him there, Joe.
Lindgren slid it through the chute. Vlasic tries to take advantage. He gets his nose to the inside, down through the toe of the boot. They're going to go side by side, but that four-wheel drive is going to help Lindgren power off the corner.
I have an obvious sponsor suggestion for Mario, but I won't go there. Joe,
he's in a real pickle here.
You had to do it, didn't you? Yeah, he is pressing at the moment. Maybe pressing too hard here. Seems that Lindgren's got this safe, but now they've got a couple of Nissans coming up in the mirror here pretty quick.
And that has caused chaos already elsewhere. So despite there being opportunities to get by, and I think Mawson is going to have a nice clean one, at least for Vlasic. But what about Lindgren? Just is able to get by. Lindgren can take the apex if he wants it. He's slightly off there. They're not done yet. Here comes the likes of, I think this is Harden, who's blinking quite a bit, which is not going to bode well.
Oh, Joe Neidhart, Arnozzi back to battling here down into the bus stop, and Arnozzi is finally going to get the spot away from Dennis.
Oh, but he cut the course. Yeah.
He's going to probably have to give it back.
He slows it down. Yep. So back to Dennis Neidhart for third place. I feel like this is wasted opportunity for Milan. He's he could have had a potential second, even maybe a win to go and challenge Phil Lake. We're going to watch this once again. Just a bit of a messy race today for Milan compared to what we've seen.
Yeah, you know what? But he still may be able to salvage a podium. Here's him running through the bus stop there, and that gave him the slowdown. He's going to tap on the brakes just as he got out of the carousel.
And speaking of wasted opportunity, oh, and we got side-by-side action between Vlasic and Lindgren. Now the number 7 finally gets it done. Adam being demoted to 7th place. What I was going to say was, I feel like, speaking of wasted opportunities, our director noted it looked like Neidhart actually let Arnotzi have the position. Ooh, and actually, Milan just, I think, brushed the wall coming out of the final corner just now. We didn't see it on screen. Let's see if we can get a replay. He slid wide in that final turn and just caught the wall. I think he got away without damage. Ooh.
He's definitely knocked down both sides of the car at this point. So, and Joe, you know, well, it was closing. Riley Thompson was starting to close the gap to Phil, and now it just kind of spread back out just over 2 seconds again, but he'd gotten it down to about 1.5 seconds. So we'll see here. We've still got 22 minutes, just over 22 minutes to go. So plenty of time for Riley to sort this out, maybe go catch Phil.
Yeah, and it could have been due to traffic, because remember, they've had the GTP cars trying to slide their way through, as that was Malson just going by there a moment ago. Riley Thompson still giving chase, not going to let him get away with this one easily. Up in the prototypes, there hasn't been a whole lot of action since that one melee that we saw, but now it's closing in once again for the lead, because Gerber has got a big run coming down the backstretch. He takes a little peek, but I don't think he's nearly close enough to make a serious attempt. Imaki's got a little bit more traffic up ahead of him. Cedric Poyle and Don Peak. Don's going to pull off to the outside, coming up to the chute. Let them through. Gerber's got a good run. He carries it around the outside as more traffic. They're going to have to split the GTO car off track. Goes Ardo Yamaki. Somehow keeps the car going. But he's lost the lead. Fabian Gerber taking advantage of the traffic.
Ardo's going to get hip checked here, Joe.
And he tried to come back at him. We're watching the replay now. I think he didn't make contact, but boy, he had a wild ride, car bounding over the grass. If we could come back live, he's going to have a go at him once again. Ardo Yamaki out of turn 9 gets the run off the corner. Fabian Gerber loses the lead after a scant few corners, and all of this fighting has brought Antti Lepisto in. 3 cars fighting for all the podium spots, and still no sign of who is going to come away with the win.
Your average I rating amongst those 3 right there, Joe, just about 5,800 points.
Woo. Yeah. Big boys have showed up to battle today. Up the run towards the backstretch once again. This was where Gerber started to get a run, and once again, he is showing a good head of steam. Ardo Yamaki defends to the inside. And deep on the brakes, Yamaki is going to retain it for now. That's the 2nd time in the row we've seen Gerber with a lot of top end. Is that setup or is that damage from Ardo?
You know, I'm looking at Ardo now. Joe, I don't see any damage on the car.
So I wonder if it's just a more trimmed out Fabian Gerber is allowing him to gain on him in a straight line. You know, the other thing could be, it wouldn't be for the first time that he caught him, but Ardo took a big thump to the bottom of the car when he went to the grass to avoid that GTO car. So I wonder if that damaged the under tray.
And, of course, the unhidden damage is the damage you always worry about. And, or I should say the hidden damage, not the unhidden damage. And under tray, a big factor in these Nissans. And they're so stacked up right here. Jeez,
yeah,
making me really nervous.
Montivada trying to stay out of the way, doing nothing wrong there, but certainly being a thorn in the side of Ardo Iamaki. Fabian Gerber pokes his nose around the outside. He knows he tends to get a good run, but it's this time Antti Lepisto's turn to try and use momentum in his favor. Through the S's, side by side. The car switches back to Fabian Gerber, starting to carry the speed, and usually, though they're catching Ardo Iamaki at this point, neither is. So Fabian Gerber has to settle for second, fending off the likes of Antti Lepisto. It is a Finnish sandwich with a DH driver stuck in the middle. And don't look now, Justin Albrecht. You can see him flashes behind the likes of Lepisto, starting to join the fray. I spoke too soon when I said we haven't had much action in the GTPs. It is getting very, very interesting now. Iamaki starts to separate himself from the likes of Gerber as it becomes now a battle for second between Lepisto and Gerber. Getting more traffic up ahead. Adam Lindgren going to be the next one. Lets the leader through, stays wide, but is in a horrible spot for Fabian Gerber. Antti Lepisto starts to gain. Then Vlasic up ahead of them, down into the 90. Once again, proves to be in a better position for Iamaki than for Gerber, who gets caught out, but it bottles up the likes of Lepisto behind them. Lepisto in the slipstream of Fabian Gerber. Second place in the points for Fabian. I'm sure he'd like to get past Ardo Iamaki, get back into the lead of the points. Car going off track, that's the likes of Jete. Down into the chute, Ardo Iamaki still leading the way. All of them single file. Your order from first to fourth here in the GTPs. Iamaki, Gerber, Lepisto, and Albrecht.
Jete and Vlasic right now. Vlasic making a move on Jete back here, and all the while, there's the 4 coming through. Villarreal.
I wonder if Jete's damaged or something. He's been a little bit slow. Oh, and don't look now because Phil Lake has Riley Thompson gaining on the back of him. Once
keep an eye on that.
Yeah, once the cork has been let out, the champagne flows forth, and Riley is looking to drink some because he is going to try and take it away from Phil Lake. He is our championship leader. He has yet to win this season after 5 rounds. He's run him down from a 2.5 second gap. I'd say that Riley Thompson has the pace today. This is going to be a hard ask for the likes of Lake to hold him back.
Oh, Justin Albrecht getting up to P3, Joe.
And that was an easy pass. Well, no, it wasn't an easy pass. It was started in the 90, and then it was finished up the S's. It looked like it was easy in the end. Let's take a look at the replay here. Set him up.
It was awful tense there at the end of the S's here. Albrecht almost making contact.
Yeah, just gets back within the slipstream, finds that little bit of speed, sticks his nose in at the last second. Lepisto has to give way. Wow.
Yeah, and they're still battling, Joe. I mean, they're still side by side here. Oh, boy.
Oh, wow. Lepisto had to give way. Big slide up and through 9, though, for Albrecht. But Lepisto can't get the power down to try and take advantage of it.
This is happening right in front of our GTO leaders, Phil and Phil Lake and Riley Thompson, who are having a great battle of their own.
I think Albrecht may have got himself a little bit of breathing space, whatever little it may be. as they come through the point where he made the pass last time. And once again, Lepisto going a little bit wide through that corner is going to make Justin all the safer. The Ohio driver has finally got a hold on the podium position. Let's jump back to that battle for the lead in the GTOs, because it is now down to 0.3 of a second. Riley Thompson continue to close more and more on Phil Lake. This has been a measured drive. It has been a gutsy drive from the number 6.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I was just going to say chipping away bit by bit to try and challenge for the lead. Go ahead.
I wonder if Riley's going to wait and maybe just take advantage here in the closing moments of the race. He's comfortable right now. He knows he's got Phil the pace to hang with him here rather than try and fight with him here over the last 13 and a half minutes of the race. You know what I mean? So maybe this is preservation for Riley.
Oh, he's pushing the car to the limit, though. He's taking all of the track.
He doesn't he? Yeah.
He's right up on top.
That's what it takes to follow Phil Lake, though. I mean, really, you gotta push the car to the limit to stay with him.
As they come up to turn 9, oh, Lake makes a bit of a mistake, going wide on the entry into that off-camber left-hander, but Riley Thompson can't use it right now. But he's been up on the gearbox of the number 5 a number of times already. I think you're right. I think he's setting him up. He's sizing up what's possible, where the weaknesses are, and just riding in the slipstream for now. Oh, Gerber has caught Iamaki as well, and actually sent Iamaki defensive into the inner loop. Isn't able to make the pass. They've dropped Justin Albrecht with the battle in between those two, Albrecht and Lepisto. They've got a lapped car in the same class, Bob Loran, up ahead of them. Always a little bit more difficult to pass a driver within your own class than it is passing a slower class. Oh, leaving the door open slightly. Iamaki lets Gerber have a peek, but it's not going to work for now. Up next, they've got Don Peak up ahead of them. He might be caught in a bad spot depending on when they get to the back of him. He's going to slow, let them to the inside in the penultimate corner. Nicely done.
Yeah, Don does a great job of getting out of the way there and letting all those Nissans come through. Don's had a quiet but a solid race, Joe.
Well, quiet in terms of competing with other cars, but he's seen a lot of the other class having action around him. Oh, we've got a pass for third because Milan Arnozzi looks to the inside of Dennis Neidhart. He wants this podium position back, and he's finally got it. He got a little help because John Keefe was trying to pass both of them and put Neidhart off the line.
Get a replay of that. And I took Milan, 15 minutes to finally get that back.
Just using a little bit of advantageous traffic in his favor, and finally squeezes into P3. But unfortunately, this is going to still lose him points to Riley Thompson, who is also going to be losing points to Phil Lake, which makes me wonder how this championship situation is going to look like after this round. Because all of our major players are up at the top, but they're not in the same order they are in the points.
Right. Man, I got to be honest, Phil, I don't know if the tires are starting to go away on the car a little bit, but I don't want to say sloppy. I'd never want to call Phil Lake sloppy, but he better tighten things up here. 10 minutes to go. He's got the points leader right in his mirror, starting to fill it up again.
Looking at it, Phil Lake is currently third in the points, and he's not going to get enough to overtake Thompson at the top. So, but this will be obviously a bit of a psychological play from him, as well as a points advantage. Meanwhile, down in fifth, we've got Matthew Jete and Mario Vlasic still fighting for P4. Excuse me, no, for P5.
Right, and Jete just got around Mario here just a few minutes ago after working on him for several laps. So I expect this is going to continue right to the very end. Both cars look clean. I don't see any damage on either one. So looking for a hot run here to the finish. Now under 10 minutes to go.
This has been a great fight between these two all race long. These top 5 positions mean something, especially with the bigger field going to the GTOs today. Top 5 is in the top third of the field. We talked about Matthew Jete making improvements. I'd say he should be proud of that finish if he can just come away with it.
Well, the top 6 in the GTOs right now, Joe, honestly, it's a collection of 2-car battles. 3 2-car battles going on now. Phil Lake, Riley Thompson, Nazi and Neinhardt, and Jete and Vlasic.
Noah's Ark in effect here in the Audis. And honestly, we've got a little bit of a similar situation going on with the Nissans. Iamaki and Gerber are fighting. Albrecht and Lepisto split apart a little bit, but still could challenge one another. And then you've got a gap. Vili Raiola a ways behind, all by his lonesome in 5th. And Clayton McLeod is a whole 30 seconds back from 5th place. Talk about a lonesome race. He's not had a chance to really look or even think about the top 5. Settling down a little bit, though. Even though we've got a few close battles, they're not as frantic as they have been in the middle of the race. I wonder if these are drivers just kind of pausing to regroup and figure out when and where is the best to make an attack here in the dying moment, Sean.
Well, I think what they know is I've got about 4 to 5 laps left. So I've maybe got maybe 1.5 more laps to take it easy, and then it's really, really time to go. And these 2-car battles that we've been talking about, I think are going to erupt. I think we're going to start to see some drivers maybe, send it, whether it be down to the 90 or up out of the S's or into the carousel, but it's time to get going.
Now, the other thing, as we had a little bit of heavy cloud cover for a moment there, I took a look at the temperatures. Is my memory wrong? Wasn't it up to 99 degrees or somewhere around there before? It is down to 87 right now. It's definitely cooled off at least a little bit. Yeah,
we were in the high 90s there for a while, Joe, and it is cooled off a full 10 to 12 degrees at the moment. And it's maybe wreaking a little bit of havoc. Speaking of wreaking havoc, maybe a little bit there between Jete and Vlasic as Nissan comes through there. That was, who was that came through? I'm sorry, it was Joe Mawson getting by just as they were going into the bus stop.
Yeah, and that almost caused a swap of positions. We were watching Neidhart there from on board. Now we've got Jete and Vlasic, but here comes Ardo Iamaki, and he is in no mood to wait around through the chute because he's got a charging Fabian Gerber on his tail. Even though it's a 2-second gap, that can disappear so quickly, and he's going to be able to get through without causing issues. But can Gerber do the same? He's going to have to weave in and out, and now he's by. And it's like nothing even happened. They're still nose to tail, the 2 GTOs. Poor Justin Albrecht catching them in a bit of an awkward spot, going way wide, and Jete has to hug the inside. Difficult in an off-camber corner.
Yeah, I was about to say, that left-hander is difficult enough without having to try and pass traffic through there.
All of these GTPs are really causing a major headache, and now with another run, here comes Vlasic. Look into the inside of Matthew Jete. Tries to outbrake him down into the 90. They almost make contact. Jete carrying the speed up and along the hard way around, and he fends him off.
Vlasic tried to bottle him up there. It didn't happen, Joe.
We get one more car through. Vili Raiola catches them mercifully on the backstretch, and then they're done for a while. amazing, and all that for all the times that GT was held up, that Vlasic was not able to make a pass. Oh, Art McEwen's had a problem. This was in turn 9. He found the wall. Could have yet another DNF here. We've had very few, surprisingly, with all the action that we've seen. Number 21 up and into that off-camber corner. And despite having all 4 wheels being given power, it's not enough grip to keep the car from spinning around, just avoiding the powder blue walls.
Powder blue, Joe?
Yes, they are powder blue. We're going to have this debate for till the end of time. So he gets it going once again. Not until after he has his Austin Powers moment to get the car turned back around. But up at P1, Riley Thompson still putting the pressure onto Phil Lake, trying to make him work for it. Lake.
Yamaki in the mirror, Joe.
Anti Lepisto turned around in the S's. He had contact actually with one of our players. It was Milan Arnozzi initially, and then he got turned around by Dennis Neidhart.
Yeah, and Neidhart just didn't get the car slowed down enough here on board with Milan.
Yeah, you're going to see Milan not expect him to stick his nose in. That car slid to the outside. And then, of course, I mean, Dennis wouldn't have expected the car to snap that way and be right in front of him. So despite that, they stay in the same position. Arnozzi in 3rd and Neidhart in 4th. And up ahead of them, we've changed to Thompson. And Phil Lake still fighting. So what that does is move Lepisto down to 5th and Justin Albrecht up to 3rd, Villi Raola up to 4th in the GTP class. And they have only 2 minutes to go. A disappointing end for Lepisto.
I'm looking at maybe 2 laps here, Joe. I think they're going to get the white next time by.
Whew. What a race it has been. Will we see yet more twists here in a minute and a half left as we ride on board with our leader, Phil Lake, one of the 3 drivers who has won in the GTO class so far this season and denied the driver you see there on screen, Riley Thompson, still searching for win number 1. Neidhart has managed to overtake Arnozzi. Have to imagine with the hard slam on the left side of the car that Milan's got to be lacking some speed now.
Yeah, well, remember, he's bent it up a couple of times, or a few times now during the race. Dennis has just been so good today. Aside from that incident just a moment ago, up through the S's there and making the small contact he did, this has been a great race for Neidhart. Just got to hang on to it here for another lap. They'll get the white flag at the line, Joe.
And it's Lepisto coming through for the 2nd time. But this is Lepisto's teammate, Arto Iamaki, who is indeed taking the white flag. He streaks down the pit straight, downhill to the 90, with only 1 to go and a 4-second gap back to 2nd place. Gerber gave him a run for his money, but unless we see a major error from Iamaki, I don't think Fabian's going to take it away from him. So what about the lead in the GTO? Phil Lake also starting to pull a little bit of a gap with traffic coming into play. Thompson almost a second back now.
Yeah, unless Phil makes a major mistake or he has trouble with one of these Nissans here, boy, I think he's got this. The white flag is out. It's really that battle between GT and Vlasic. That's the one I think that might have the best chance of changing spots there back for P5. Neidhart and Arnozzi have got a little bit of space.
Yeah, they're fighting hard. I think traffic, though, coming up behind our two leaders could yet change the story there. We're trying to keep our eyes everywhere. I'll break in when our leader gets close to the finish line as they climb up the hill towards the backstretch. The draft in these Audis very powerful. This could be a great place for Vlasic to try and make his move. Does he have enough, though? He's looking to the inside. I don't think he's going to be close enough, and that's the point where we need to switch over to Ardo Iamaki. One more corner to go. It is going to be win number 5 out of 6 races for the Finn. What a season he is having. Ardo Iamaki takes the win. Phil Lake still leading Riley Thompson. It is now over a second. The traffic has not been merciful to the number 6 car. In fact, they've still got Mulson splitting the two of them as Thompson watches that lead continue to slip away. Phil Lake has had to work for this one. He's had to withstand the pressure. The number 5 going to take home another win here in the GTO class at Watkins Glen. Thompson will have to wait for another day. Dennis Neidhart with his damage finishes a long way back, but I think he's going to hold back Arnotzi to take a podium.
Classic with one last chance here, Joe. One last stab at it. Out of turn 10, down to 11. Here we go.
I think he's going to be a little bit too far back unless he carries a whole lot of speed. He's trying. He tries his heart out. Oh, but it's going to be a 6th place. Oh, and I believe that is going to be it for our battles here at the end. The rest of the cars are trickling in across the line. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, and stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Watkins Glen International. We just watched round 6. We are now halfway through the season officially here in the Kamel GT series. And once again, Ardo Iamaki showing he is going to take this championship by the throat. 5 wins out of 6 starts. He wins by a 3.5 second gap, though, over Fabian Gerber. Fabian tried his hardest to see if he could take it away, but once the two got clear of most of the traffic, it seemed like Fabian could not keep pace. Justin Albrecht, however, with a clean drive up to 4th, with Vili Rolla following, up to 3rd, Vili Rolla following him to 4th, and Antti Lepisto very late in the race. Just tried to make a pass through traffic that did not go well at all and winds up in 5th. Clayton McLeod will take P6 behind them, with John Keefe taking 7th. Joe Malson finishes in 8th, and Bob Loren with a nice climb going from 13th to 9th today. Fabian Jungbluth winds up in 10th. Sean?
All right, Joe, and then it's Phil in and around the lake with a big win today. Riley Thompson going to bring it home in P2. Dennis Neidhart going to round out our podium today. Milan Arnazzi, what a race. It was definitely an adventure. Matthew Jete there with a P5. Mario Vlasic, 6th. Adam Lindgren, 7th today. And Hideki Koivisto, 8th place run for him. Lori Montevara, it's going to be 9th. Cedric Poyle, 10th place run in the Audis. Joe, good quiet day out of Cedric. Don Peak going to finish 11th. Art McEwen in 12th. 13th going to go to Darren Link. Then you got Johnny Bell down there in 11th. Overall in the Nissans. Carl Harden, P12 run for him. Running through the results here. There we go. And Rick Correa is going to be 26th overall. That's a 13th place run. Tobias Gerber, we never really got a chance to talk about him, Joe. That's 14th place in the Nissans for him. Then we go back to more of the Audis here. Hayden Pastores with a 14th place finish. And then Reed Miller going to be the last in line today there. P15, 29 cars started this race. And boy, it was an adventure here at the Glen today.
It was, yeah, those GTP cars that you saw all DNF'd, unfortunately, down at the bottom of the list. But first driver that we have with us definitely didn't DNF. Phil Lake takes another win this season. Phil, it looked like you had to look in your mirrors a few times there. Riley caught up to you. Were you a little bit surprised that he was able to run you down mid-race?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, when I got that, I got like a two second gap, I think, when they were fighting at the start, and I thought, oh, okay, I can just hold it at that and just hit my marks, and pretty plain sailing. That was the plan. And then Riley came out of nowhere and had a bit of a fight, but managed to keep him behind. He got pretty close, uncomfortably close a couple of times. But
Oh, go ahead.
I was just, that's I've come to expect that from Riley.
Yeah. Well, did it force you to turn up the wick? Did you actually pick up your pace, or were you running the same as you were earlier?
No, I had to push, and I was paying for it at the end. The rear of the car was getting pretty difficult to manage, and there was a couple of laps where a cloud came over, which were quite nice because I was lapping faster than him for a couple of laps. But then when the cloud went away, he was faster than me again.
Yeah, talk about the new weather system that we've got. We've got half a season under our belt now to really kind of get used to it. Does it affect the Audi quite a bit, the change in temperatures, or does it handle it relatively well?
Setup wise, it handles it pretty well. It drives the same regardless, but it definitely makes a noticeable difference when a cloud comes over for a couple of laps. You definitely find out if your tire pressures are working better in hot or cold temperatures, and mine were working in the cooler temperatures today, and Riley's obviously were working better in the slightly hotter temperatures.
Well, I guess Mother Nature smiled on you in the end, and congratulations on taking another win that should help you in the points championship.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
That was Phil in and around the lake, our winner here today. Up next, Sean's going to talk to second in the GTP class, Fabian Gerber.
Hello.
Hey, Fabian. Great to talk to you, buddy. Congratulations on another podium finish here in the Kamel GT Series.
Thank you very much.
Talk to us about your race, buddy.
Oh, it was, again, really exciting. Fantastic to drive. Arthur is a really tough opponent. I just couldn't get by him. It was impossible. Maybe without the chicane it could have been possible. He had more downforce than I had, so I was much faster on the straight, but I had difficulties keeping up with him elsewhere on the track. So it was a tough race, but very enjoyable.
What's the most challenging part of this circuit when you're working around the traffic?
That's probably the chicane. Once you have a car in front of you, it's impossible to do anything. You just have to wait. I think I lost 2 seconds once behind Arto because there was an Audi in between.
Well, there was a lot going on in this race. It certainly wasn't one of the biggest fields we've had all season, but at Watkins Glen, you think it's a really big track, but once you get to battling side by side, it does seem quite small, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not that wide. It's old school. They were not as wide as today, but it has places to overtake. It has great space to battle. It's a fantastic track. It's one of my favorites.
Are you pulling any time in the 24 today?
No, not at all. I didn't have time to even think about driving there. Maybe one day. Maybe severing 6 hours. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
I'll see.
All right, buddy. Well, we will see you next week. Congratulations on another great run here in the Kamel GT Series.
Thank you very much. Bye,
we'll
guys.
see you then. Thanks, Fabian. Joe, Fabian Gerber. Very excited, very happy about his place today in this race.
Yeah, I guess the best of the rest is what you have to settle for sometimes with Arto Iamaki. Same with Riley Thompson, who tried his best to challenge Phil Lake. He's joined us today. Riley, we were talking a lot on the broadcast how even though coming into this race you were leading the points championship, you still have not won a race so far this season. This looked like a great opportunity, though. You gave Phil a run for his money.
Yeah, I'm surprised I was even able to keep up with him, to be honest. I spent most of this week focusing on Daytona practice, so to even be able to stay with him and battle with him was good for me, I think.
Well, that's good to hear you taking part in the Daytona. Which car is you and your team racing?
The Ferrari.
So obviously you've got some work to do after this, a bit of a long day. How do you go about planning that out? Is your team pretty sympathetic and try to make sure to schedule around this Kamel GT race for you anytime you do a 24?
Yeah, normally we just have our availability sheets at first, and I'll just put down every time during Kamel that I'm not available. So unless like something really as an emergency came up, I'm always reserving this time for Kamel.
Makes sense. Well, another second place under your belt. Obviously, probably a little bit frustrating, but how do you think about your chances next week when we go to Motegi?
I actually won't be able to be there next week because I'll be at the actual Daytona 24. So hopefully it won't hurt me too much as a drop, and we'll be back for the week after that.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you back once again. Obviously, those drop weeks will come in handy, and congratulations on another podium.
Thanks, guys.
Sean, that was second place in the GTOs, Riley Thompson. And you have Adam Lindgren to talk to, another GTO driver.
I do. The Great Northwest Club driver, Adam Lindgren, with us today. Adam, you know what? Congratulations. The top 10 run here at Watkins Glen with all those Nissans storming around this track and making it difficult for you guys. That's worth the congratulations. How'd it go for you, buddy?
Yeah, I felt like it was a pretty good race. It was difficult because a lot of people are a lot more familiar with this track and car combo than I am, but I put in a lot of good practice, and the results showed. I had some really good battles as well, so I enjoyed the race a lot.
Well, okay. I guess I'm curious then, since you don't have as much time in this car, you put some practice in. What was your best battle of the race?
My best battle was actually probably between my teammate Matthew and I. We were duking it out in the first couple of laps, and it was really fun to duke it out with someone I knew I could trust. And also just like every once in a while getting it a little bit loose on the brakes and getting that power slide going. Though the hot brakes did hurt me at the end of the race, but luckily I think this will help me maintain my GTU lead.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to go to next. So thanks for segueing for me. You've got that GTU lead. You get yourself a top 10 finish here heading into next week. You got to be pretty happy with how the season's gone so far, huh?
Yeah, I'm super confident. I'm really enjoying racing GTU. Probably my best competition is my teammate Matthew. We're about even on time, so him finishing ahead of me was not ideal for the championship lead, but you know, he's my teammate, so I can't get too hard on him.
No, not too hard. I mean, you guys had Mario Vlasic right there in between you today, and it was a lot of fun here at Watkins Glen, and we appreciate you coming in, talking with us, and congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, man. See you next week.
All right, Joe, and that's Adam Lindgren. That's a P7 for him today. After starting back, I think he started 10th today in this race. So really, really good run for him.
Absolutely. Position gains is always a positive. Now, let's close up today, though. I'm sure a lot of you want to get over to the 24 coverage, so just hold on a second while we thank a few people before you do that. A big thank you, of course, to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back here. On to the other people we'd like to thank. The iRacing Esports Network for having this full season here on the channel. We love the racing here in Kamel GT, so make sure and subscribe so that you can not only watch the Kamel GT on here, but all kinds of racing here on IESN. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on our screen now. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean Amjed, and Dougie. I didn't update the script. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page as well on GSRC. We also have a big red subscribe button that you need to hit so that you don't miss a moment over there. Next race, as we mentioned, that'll be Motegi. That'll be Saturday, January 26th at noon Eastern. And right now, I believe we've got more coverage here on IESN for the 24 hours of Daytona. Make sure and get yourself a snack and a drink and follow more of the action there. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.